Alright, I want to do a quick video on being frugal with what you got. Using what you got. Let's get a good picture here. Let's do this. Alright, so you don't have to spend a ton of money to grow your own food. You really don't. I'm going to sit down here so you can kind of see everything. Come on down to me. Alright, so let's go over this real quick. So you don't have to spend a ton of money. Like I showed you in the one video, $1.99 potatoes. You can turn that into a lot of potatoes. Get you some buckets. I have some buckets here that I went and got from a Chinese restaurant for free. I just walked in there and asked them. There was a little bit of a language barrier, but Google Translate is a wonderful thing. But she was able to give me, I think I got 3 or 4 free buckets, had soy sauce in them. Wash them out really good because it's high salt content. You don't want that in there. Wash them out, let them dry, and then drill your holes. You can grow your potatoes in it. You can grow tomato plants in a bucket. You can grow cucumbers in a bucket. You can grow them vertical. Grow them vertical. You don't have to let them bush out. You can do a lot of different things in a bucket. You can do squash. You can do squash in a bucket, growing it vertical. You can see some of my older videos where I was doing that. I wasn't growing in the bucket, but I was growing them vertical. And it works. It works really well. It allows you to control. Now, squash, you can also use, they like hot compost. So that's like 50% brown, 50% greens. When you mix it all together, what they call a hot compost, you water it, starts to smoke. From what I was reading, squash loved that. I did not get to try that yet because most of my compost was done by the time I was doing some research on that. But what I was reading, that they said that they thrive in that. And that might be something for me to try this year. But you don't have to spend a ton of money. I'm going to keep repeating myself. The bags of dirt that I get. That bag of dirt will do, I think you can fill up almost 2 5-gallon buckets up. Cost you $2 and under $3. Get you a little bit of fertilizer. You can get little bags for about $10. It's a little pricey on that, but you don't have to mix a ton of it. You can put that fertilizer on there. Depending on what you get, but you can put that fertilizer on there once a month, maybe. Just depends on what kind of fertilizer and how hot it is. You know, if it's a hotter fertilizer, the one I get is, let me take a look. The multi-purpose. Let's take a look at it. I think this is Epsoma. Yeah, Epsoma. And it is a 344. And I'll do that about once a month. Even when I do my garden, I'll go around and put this around the base of my plants. So it's not a super hot, but it gets the job done. I also, when I plant them, when I plant my plants, and I'll show you this when I go in there to start planting them, I add fertilizer, and then I'll also do a little eggshell, a little bit of calcium, especially in my tomato plants. Any plant that loves your eggshells and stuff like that, I can show you how to do the eggshells too. I was using bone meal, but it's a little pricey. Now we have chickens, so I figured why do that when I can simply take my eggshells and turn it into powder. I can show you that by simply putting them in the oven. There's multiple ways to do that. Right now I'm actually trying it in my greenhouse. I got them sitting in a pail or a tray out in my greenhouse. It gets up to about 120 degrees in there, and it's not even summertime yet. But them eggshells, you can feel them. They start to just fall apart in your hand, and then you'll put them in a blender and pulverize them and turn them into powder. You take that powder and you can put it right down in there in that hole when you dig it, and then put your plant on top of it. You want to have it powdered. You put a whole eggshell in there. That eggshell is not going to break down for that plant. It's not going to do it. It's going to take forever. You want it to be water soluble, and that's why you heat them up so they become super brittle, and then you'll turn them into a powder. That gives you lots of calcium, which tomato plants are good about getting a calcium deficiency. That's where you get your blossom end rot. But most of the time, it's due to lack of water. Because if you don't water enough, they can't absorb the nutrients that they need. They can't get that calcium up into the plant. I've several times I've not watered because was it 2 years ago we had a pretty hot summer, and some of my tomatoes were almost done and ended up catching blossom end rot because I wasn't watering them. But I actually ended up putting them on an irrigation system. Once I put them on the irrigation system, they did fairly well. But there's a lot of stuff we can go over. A lot of stuff I'm not going to show because there's a lot of people that already do it. And there's 50 different ways to do it. You have to find the one that works for you. Most of the stuff I've done here, I've found somewhere else. I might find 3 or 4 different ways to do it. I put them together and make my own. But like I said, growing food for yourself is not hard, even in a little bit of space. I'm growing food for 6 people in a pretty small little garden. I mean, last year alone I got 60 corn on the cob, so 60 ears. That was my first year planting. The planter did not plant right, and I had up to 3 plants per hole. But what I did was I just kind of fertilized heavily. They still produced a good corn, but they didn't get as big as they normally do. I had 88 plants, 88 tomato plants in 2 rows, and them rows weren't 20 yards long maybe, and I had 88 plants because I dug deep, put them, I mean, between 1.5 feet to 2 feet, and planted them deep, and they weren't 6 inches apart, and they actually did fairly well because I wanted them roots to go down, not so much side to side. They're going to grow side to side, but I want them to go down so they weren't running into each other and robbing nutrients from each other. But like I said, when I put them in there, I always put a little bit of fertilizer and a little bit of calcium in there to help them out, and they seem to do fairly well. I'm hoping we can get because the last 3 years I have not had a very reliable way to grow these tomato plants. I've tried several different ways. Trellis seems to be the best, but it's building a trellis. So I got an idea. We're going to try to put it in effect and see how it works this year. But that's pretty much it right now. Like I said, don't ever think that you can't do it because you don't have the room and you don't have the money. Like I said, $1.99 for a bag of potatoes. Just stick them out on the kitchen where sunlight can get to them. They're going to grow. They're going to grow. You don't have to do anything else. If you want to speed up the process, you can wash them off because a lot of them do have a sprouting inhibitor on them. Wash that off. Stuff like this refrigerator that I keep my seeds in. I got it for free. I saw it by a trash can. It wasn't in the trash can. It was beside it. So I went up, asked the guy if I could have it. And he let me have it. I've got trays that I got here that I haul vegetables in when I'm collecting. I got them for free. All I had to do was ask. All these back here, all these shelving units, these are high dollar shelving units. And this ain't even half of what I got. I got them for free because I asked. All you have to do is ask. You can go to these big corporate places and ask, because a lot of times they'll put the stuff in the back. They have to pay to have that stuff disposed of. They can't throw it in the dumpster because of certain laws and rules and regulations. If metal and stuff has to be recycled, or they got to have somebody come pick it up, just go ask. It doesn't hurt. The worst they can say is no. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. Just try it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like.